Time now for our Rants and Raves, starting with Dan Lothian.
Right, so I'm going to have a little fun with this one here. I have a rave for the Washington Post. And the reason is that their status of fake news, I guess, has been rolled back by the president.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure all of you saw this earlier when the day after the president was acquitted, he held up a headline, and it wasn't from a conservative newspaper, but it was from the Washington Post. Of course, we know the president has been beating up on most news organizations, but in particular has been going after the Washington Post. But here, suddenly, now that he's acquitted, it was no longer fake news. So that kind of, when I saw that, I thought, well, that's interesting. Is this just a what-off? Because it was, in his favor, or could this be real change that he doesn't think the Washington Post is fake news?
All right, John.
Well, I was sorry to hear that Rush Limbaugh has late-stage lung cancer. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Having said that, the occasion of him being awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom is a good moment to reflect on Rush Limbaugh's profound contribution to creating Donald Trump and Trumpism and our current state of political discourse. You're talking about someone who has spent more than 30 years packaging racism, sexism, and xenophobia in a very effective and marketable brand of talk radio that really revolutionized talk radio. Funny song parodies and a lot of humor mixed in. He created a power base so strong that when he visited the White House under President George H.W. Bush, Bush rushed out to the driveway to greet him, carried his bags up to the Lincoln bedroom, and the current impasse on immigration, or the long-standing impasse, that's a Rush Limbaugh production. So while we should wish him well health-wise and reflect on the cleverness of his innovation, I think we should also acknowledge the ugliness of that contribution.
Absolutely.
All right, Dan Kennedy.
I have a rave, I guess, for the research department at Fox News. It's also known as the Brain Room. The Daily Beast reported that they have released a 162-page research report on some of the guests who appear on the prime time shows. Most prominently, John Solomon, late of the Hill, and Rudy Giuliani.
And that crank Joe DeGeneva.
And Joe DeGeneva and his wife.
Yeah.
They've warned the host, look, these people are peddling disinformation about the Ukraine scandal. And has it had an effect? Well, it appears that Solomon has disappeared from Hannity's show, and his overall appearances have declined as well. So it looks like they've done at least a little bit of good.
That is interesting. Those people are unwatchable.
Oh.
All right, Joanna.
So I have a rant in the ongoing saga of the free press on college campuses here and elsewhere. So you may remember that in the fall, the Harvard Crimson covered a rally on campus, public rally against ICE, the Immigration and Enforcement Service, did the journalistic due diligence of calling ICE for comment, and then was attacked by the student body saying, you've made us unsafe, all the things that sort of demonstrated that they don't understand the way journalism works and the way free press works. The Tufts Daily published an editorial supporting the Crimson, but then a couple of weeks ago issued a statement retracting the editorial and apologizing for it and saying, sorry, we stood up for journalism, we didn't mean to. This feels to me like a teachable moment. It feels like a time when it's probably time for adults in positions of respect to just step in and make some statements in favor of media literacy and a free press. You remember when this happened at Northeastern?
Oh, yeah.
Northwestern, not Northeastern. Good. Northeastern's great for the free press.
It well.
Northwestern University, the dean of the Medill School, put out an amazing statement saying, cut the students some slack, they're learning, but here's what journalism is, and it would be great for that to happen here.
Well, finally tonight, I have a rave for New York Times reporter Megan Twohey, who is interviewing Harvey Weinstein's lawyer on air for the Daily. Her name is Donna Rotuno. Anyway, she had completely finished the interview and then had one last question. It came. I said, wait a second, I have one more. Let's hear it.
Oh, and I had another question, which was whether or not you've been sexually assaulted.
I have not, because I would never put myself in that position.
So you're saying, okay, actually, I'm sorry. So you're saying that you You're saying that you have never been sexually assaulted because you would never put yourself in the position of being sexually assaulted?
No, I've always made choices from college age on where I never drank too much. I never went home with someone that I didn't know. I just never put myself in any vulnerable circumstance, ever.
So the interesting thing about the interview was that she's basically saying that all these women were complicit in what happened to them in the presence of Harvey Weinstein. I mean, she was actually riveting to listen to. But as a defender of Harvey Weinstein, that's what she was saying. And then it turns out, I mean, she really believes that. You know, she believes that she wasn't the victim of sexual assault because she never put herself in that position. Well, you know, as if the majority of people willingly do.